Well, hello, everybody. My name is Deborah Armstrong. I'm an independent journalist, and I am once again honored today to be joined by Scott Ritter, a former UN nuclear arms inspector and the author of the book Peace in the Time of Perestroika. And it's really always an honor to have you here, Scott. I really do appreciate you taking the time to speak with me today. And the topic is going to be NAFO, and this is the I always forget this, the North Atlantic Fella Organization, not to be confused with NATO, who they are actually connected to. So I'm hoping that you've had some experience with these people, if you can call them people, and I just want to talk about that, what they are like, what we can do to avoid them.
Well, I mean, NAFO, um, however you pronounce it, tomato. Um,
Yeah.
it's an organization that, I mean, when we say an organization, it's a loose affiliation of, and I'm just going to use the term they use, shit posters. I apologize for the language, but that's what they use. These aren't professionals. These aren't anybody who care about anything. They claim to care about Ukraine. But I think the vast majority of them are just internet trolls. Probably fat, middle-aged, dudes living in the basement of either their ex-wife, their ex-girlfriend, or their mom. Um, some of them are rather senior. We know, for instance, a former congressman from Illinois claims to be a fella. That would be
Wow.
Mr. Kinzinger, an active duty officer in the Air National Guard. So here we have a commissioned officer in the United States Air Force, proudly proclaiming himself as a fella, as a shit poster, which means he has no professional standards. The sole purpose of NAFO is harassment. That's it. They're not here to further a debate, a discussion, a dialogue. They're not here to articulate in intelligent fashion on anything. Shit posting is not about that. Shit posting is simply overwhelming somebody who has a different point of view or point of view that you disagree with, overwhelming them with literal digital shit. And that's what they do. And, you know, most social media platforms have policies against harassment. Um, NAFO is 100% designed to be a harassment agency. All they do is harass. They contribute nothing positive. There is no intellectual value in their existence. Um, their goal is to harass people they disagree with and drive them off of the social media platform in question. And then they chuckle about it because that's what trolls do. Why they are permitted to continue to exist is beyond me. Um, I am the strongest believer in free speech. I am somebody who believes that if you have something to say, you should be allowed to say it. Um, but that means you should be allowed to say it in a community where dissenting points of view must also be heard and respected. It should be done in a forum where it is possible to carry out civil disagreement. Again, debate, discussion, dialogue. Most social media platforms are capable of supporting this kind of responsible interaction, but they choose not to. You want to know why? Because responsible interaction is boring. You see, to have informed people carrying out intellectual discourse about complicated and sometimes controversial subjects minimizes the controversy because it requires people to think, and think is a time consuming process. Usually requires people to maybe turn off their computer, sit back, turn down the lights, and reflect on what they have experienced, absorb it, think about it, contemplate, maybe come down, find a way to articulate what it is you've learned in more than 288 characters. That's not what shit posting is about. Shit posting is the immediate attack, and it preferably not about the subject, because you can't shit post about a subject. Shit posting is to attack the person. For instance, you, Deborah, I will come up with a nickname for you. I will do a quick search of your resume and find something about you that it will distract people from the issue at hand, and then we will flood it. And what NAFO prides itself is once they initiate engagement, they encourage a flood of trolls to come in and seize control of the interaction. So if you're on Twitter, NAFO will take control of your feed so that anybody trying to come in and participate will be overwhelmed. And anybody who comes in and participates in a supportive or constructive way will themselves be swarmed by NAFO. Now, the NAFO people pride themselves and call this information warfare, but it's not war. Now, anybody who's a member of NAFO who's been in the military understands that this was true information warfare, that I would jam the shit out of their signals. I would carry out preemptive strikes against their bases of operation. I would kill them because if this is war, that's what happens. But that's not going to happen because this isn't war. This is trolling. This is childish behavior by adults. This is the antithesis of what a democracy should be supporting. This is not free speech. These are the scum of the earth. And I hope to hell that Elon Musk and all the other people who control these online platforms shut them down.
That would be a wonderful thing to see happen. Are they in any way connected to Mirotvorets? Do you know that, the Ukrainian kill list?
I have no evidence that that is the case. But being shit posters, again, these are people without a moral conscience. They have zero intellectual capacity. They're the schoolyard bullies, and so these are the kind of people that would actually celebrate, for instance, a Daria Dugina being killed by Mirotvorets or a Tatarsky, or God, if they ever got lucky, me. Imagine the field day that NAFO would have if Scott Ritter was liquidated. They would be jumping up and down and cheering. This shows you what kind of scum they are. These are literally the rejection of what one would say. If someone is to build a standard of what an ideal human intellect would look like, NAFO is that which has been rejected. And this is where they're at. But no, I don't have any information or, frankly speaking, reason to believe that NAFO was formally affiliated with Mirotvorets or frankly speaking, any government association. This appears to be purely the initiative of, again, people that don't have a life.
Now, you've had some personal experience with the fellas. What can you tell us what you went through?
Well, I mean, again, what I went through. First of all, it's harassment. That's all it is.
Yeah.
What I went through, wishing that this coward was in front of me so that I could show him what a 61-year-old Marine can still do. Wishing they had the courage to challenge me in a debate anywhere, anytime. But resentful of the fact that, I am dedicating a part of my life to participate in an online activity designed to further discussion, and they're disruptive of that. They have zero respect for anybody's time, anybody's life, or experience. I mean, wrestling with a NAFO person online is like wrestling with a pig. The pig's just going to sit there and get muddy and enjoy it. And all you're going to do is get dirty. And so one of the first things that I learned in the counter NAFO strategy is to ignore them. The second I see the little Shiba Inu symbol on somebody's Twitter handle, that's the dog that unfortunately they've hijacked. It's a wonderful species. I have nothing against them, but they've hijacked them. They've turned him into a cartoon character. If I see that, or if I see fella, or if I see NAFO, these people are immediately banned. I will never engage with them. And what I encourage people to do is just ignore them. Don't engage. It's like feeding the wildlife at Yellowstone. Don't do it. Don't encourage it. Ignore it. And they're easy to ignore because, again, these guys pride themselves in their cartoon-like characters of dogs. They like to proudly proclaim their NAFO status. And so in a feed, when they come in, ignore them. And what I've learned about NAFO is the following. They are spoiled children. If you ignore them, they go away because it's not fun to be ignored. You see, they live off of the thrill of getting a response. So when a NAFO piece of dirt attaches itself to my Twitter feed or any social media outlet, I ignore them. And I encourage everybody else to ignore them. Now, some people say, well, why not just ban them? I can, but that takes a lot of time. And that's one of the NAFO strategies. You see, if I'm spending an hour and a half clearing a feed of NAFO trolls, that's an hour and a half I'm not engaged productively in doing something else. And I don't want to spend my life on Twitter, on Facebook, or on any social media platform. I go there, I will put an article out, I will respond when I can to constructive dialogue, and then I go away and I do other things. But NAFO will suck you into their game. Their game is the interaction because remember, they aren't there to have a responsible dialogue. They are there to tear you down and take up your time, to destroy your online experience. So ignore them. Ignore them and they disappear. And if everybody would just ignore them, do svidanya, mama, they're gone.
Do svidanya.
Yeah, they're out of here because they don't matter. That's the thing. Look at Kissinger. Nobody's using his name today because he is irrelevant. He's no longer a congressman. He no longer has any relevance. Nobody cares. And one of the reasons is that he's identified himself as a fella. I have my own Shiba Inu right now, NAFOing our conversation. I apologize for the dog, but it is what it is.
It's not the dog's fault.
No. It's my fault for having a conversation in my house with the dog here. It's his house, but
what would be a better mascot for these individuals? I mean, it almost seems like a pig isn't bad enough.
Hide themselves in shit posting. So I understand that there is a poop icon now out there, and I just think that would be it. A poop icon is the perfect, mascot for a shit poster.
Yeah, they're full of shit, and they pretty much are shit. That sounds right.
And all they do is produce shit. So
I noticed on their website that they have a line of merchandise that they're selling to raise money. Do you know anything about what they're raising that money for? Is it for additional trolling, or who are they giving it to? How do they work this out? I mean,
my understanding is that they claim to raise it in support of various causes related to Ukraine. But I don't know. I don't know where they. Again, I just don't care about NAFO. I mean, we're having a conversation, and I've said NAFO today more times than I've said it in the last 6 months because they don't matter. I don't care. They're not part of my existence.
And yet they've made life kind of a living hell for a lot of people by just harassing them to the point where I think they have actually succeeded in shutting some people down because they get scared. And so I wanted to do this interview just to talk about it, what we can do to stop them in their tracks.
One of the things that they do, my understanding is, again, I'm not an expert on Twitter. I've been banned because of NAFO in large part, at least some of the bans. They apparently have figured out how Twitter works. And if you flood, let's say I put a post out there, a NAFO strategy will be to flood people in to become a follower and then immediately unfollow. And this massive surge of numbers triggers an automatic review or intervention by Twitter. And if you accompany that with sufficient complaints, this guy's hate speech, and they just flood it, the algorithm automatically bans you. And that's a tactic they use. I don't know if Elon Musk has, again, because I can't test it because I'm not on Twitter anymore. But I don't know what Elon Musk is doing about this. But if he wants to be a practitioner of free speech, if he wants the blue bird to have quality, He needs to solve this problem. He needs to prevent the kind of artificial manipulation of content screening. I get content screening. I understand you don't want illegal things happening online. You don't want harassment happening online. You don't want any of that. So there is a need for content screening, but it has to be done responsibly, and it can't be allowed to be hijacked by people who aren't interested in preserving the quality of the experience, but rather getting people who want quality to leave Twitter. And there, as you've said, there's a number of people who are no longer on Twitter. And the other thing is, even if you don't get banned, it's harassment. To simply log on to Twitter becomes an act of harassment. And there's not a lot of people out there that I think wake up every morning and say, let's get it on. Because if you are that kind of person, you're probably still up. And so you're working for the other side. But I think most people would like to get on Twitter and actually have positive interaction. I first went on Twitter because it was an opportunity to do two things. A news feed, quick news. Everybody has their time constraints. So rather than sitting down in my overstuffed easy chair in front of the TV, scrolling through CNN and all that, I could subscribe to a number, or follow, I guess is the term, a number of news outlets, and then they would, in initially 144 characters, now 288, they would feed me things that could either pique my interest, and I'd say, oh, I want to dig into that, and then I go on to Google and do it, or I'd say, no, that's okay, or just get a quick update on it. I could follow people who were substantive experts, who would post articles. And so I'd go through, see an article, and then I could read the article. I would follow people of interest, people who have experience and background that means that when they say something, I want to listen to them. So Twitter to me was an invaluable tool of knowledge acquisition. And then it became a tool of valued interaction, because I became one of the people of knowledge that could post things and people would come to, and then I would interact with these people. And and I was just learning how to do, I guess it's a Twitter Spaces, they call it, where you could speak to a forum. It is an extraordinarily valuable social media based vehicle for the acquisition of knowledge. And that's one of my big themes, is knowledge is power. Empower yourself with knowledge and information. And Twitter, provided that opportunity until a combination of NAFO trolls and, frankly speaking, politicized Twitter staff destroyed it. And I know Elon Musk claims that he's trying to rebuild it, but frankly speaking, Elon, as long as I'm not on Twitter, you're never going to convince me that you're serious about making Twitter a legitimate platform, because the reasons I was kicked off Twitter have no legitimacy whatsoever.
What were those reasons?
Never stated for the last time. Never stated for the last time. Just kicked off, and they wouldn't even acknowledge my appeal. It was just, you're done. One time I got kicked off for the first time. I was temporarily banned. They give you put you in a penalty box for dead naming Chelsea Manning. I said, well, what do you want me to say? Because I quoted a document that was written by somebody who wasn't named Chelsea Manning. It was written by somebody who was named the original name of the individual. And I said, well, this is a document prepared by this individual. It only refers to this individual, and the time frame that I'm discussing is only about that individual in the original name. And therefore, from an accuracy standpoint, I referred to it as there. It wasn't an attack on transgendered or anything.
No.
Statement of fact. And they said, no, you dead named this individual. And I was like, well, not really, but into the penalty box you go. And then the next time was about Bucha, saying, which is just the dead absolute truth, that the Ukrainians did it. The evidence is overwhelming. And yet merely saying that got me banned for hate speech. I got that ban lifted, but then I went back and repeated it again. And, just to make the point that, first of all, if you lift the ban, that means that what I said wasn't hate speech. But then to show them how stupid they are, I simply retweeted the tweet that got me banned, which was determined not to be hate speech, and it was found to be hate speech again.
Wow.
And then they brought me back on, and then I think I went on the Alex Jones show, and had a very responsible discussion about nuclear
Well,
disarmament.
how dare you?
How dare I go on Alex Jones, especially when Elon Musk doesn't like Alex Jones? And I think the combination of Elon Musk's distaste for Alex Jones and NAFO trolls combined to get me kicked off. But I don't know because, like I said, it was simple cause and effect. I simply linked the video of my interview with Alex Jones, and I was immediately banned. But no, normally they say, this tweet is what you've been banned for. This is why you violate. This one just said, nah, you're done. Go. And I've been done ever since. Now, Kim.com claims that he's had a conversation with Elon Musk, and Elon Musk asked for my handle to be provided to him so that I could be whitelisted and brought back on. But that was almost 2 weeks ago, and there's been no movement forward. So my hopes for Twitter are, they're not high. I've learned to live without it. But I will tell you, anybody who is involved in social media activity that is related to monetization,
Right.
and I'm not an expert on this, but I do a show called Ask the Inspector with Jeff Norman. I have
Right.
a Substack page where people can voluntarily do paid subscriptions. And to attract these people, Twitter is an invaluable platform. Twitter, I never made a penny from Twitter, but if I would write a Substack article, I could take it to Twitter and get it out to 110,000, 115,000 people that quick. I could take an interview and then put it on Twitter, and it could go viral, get millions of views.
Absolutely.
All of that turns into potential donations. That means an income. And when in this day and age, it's a supplementary income, but it's an income nonetheless. And, people don't understand that if you're going to spend 40 to 60 hours a week doing interviews, if you're going to spend the rest of your time writing articles to be posted on it, this doesn't happen for free. And unless there's a billionaire out there who's willing to write the checks to pay for electricity and pay for heating and pay for food and pay for mortgages and car payments, you've got to earn money. And when they kick you off of Twitter and you have sought to monetize your social media interaction, it's a huge financial hit, a huge hit. And so, I would love to get back on Twitter, primarily because of the role it plays in positive interaction, but it would help pay the bills. And so I'm a little bitter about what happened here in Elon Musk's inactivity and his continued tolerance of these NAFO trolls. Because this isn't just fun and games. These people are literally trying to destroy the lives of the people they're targeting, and they relish it. I swear to God, if they could get people to commit suicide, they would celebrate that. These are the kind these are the kind of human scum that would stand there on their computer screen and say, put the noose around your neck, put the noose around your neck. Go ahead, wiggle the chair. Oh, look, he's hanging. Good, we got another one liquidated. And I'm talking about Adam Kinzinger. That's you, Adam, because you're a fella. You're self-identified as a fella. So you're scum. You're not a commissioned officer in the United States Air Force. You're not somebody with a combat record. You're human scum because you associate with scum. And every NAFO member is scum, including the veterans that call themselves fellas. You disgrace everything you stand for. You took an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States of America, and now you're discrediting that oath by violating people's free speech, because what you're doing, this harassment you're doing, is the antithesis of free speech. If you had the courage that you once possessed when you joined the military, you would be willing to engage in a debate. But apparently your brain has ceased to function, and you operate at grade school, high school bully level. You're the kind of guy that waits in the men's room to harass the new kid with the glasses that comes in. Well, guess what? There ain't a new kid coming in. It's a 250-pound football player who's going to kick your ass. That's the game I play.
Right
So
on.
now I'm a
I'd
little,
love to see that happen. Wouldn't mind seeing them get their butts kicked. I have to say, they
actually, I'm
just.
not promoting violence. It was purely a
I,
rhetorical flourish. I believe
it's a
in,
nice visualization, though.
yes, I believe in the peaceful resolution of all disagreements. And so I don't
I'd
want to
love
get
to add some gladiator armor to that, like just like some rusty swords and leather skirts and.
well, the beauty thing about the rusty sword is that when I hit them, they might get infected. Never mind. But
Well, that'd be okay. I mean, no, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
kidding. We're
But
joking. Joking.
the irony here to me is how, from 2016 basically on, they claimed that there was this huge problem with Russian trolls and that the Russians were influencing our election. Of course, we all know that that's hogwash. But then you've got these guys, and they really are doing harm to people. Like you said, I mean, they're pushing people, they're just harassing them. They're making people's lives miserable. I know somebody else who's Russian who she just posting the truth as she sees it as a Russian person, and they go after her. They've gone after her. They got her to where she had to leave certain forums because they just piled on.
Yeah.
And that's what they do. And that's the real trolls. And yet nothing is done. It's just like mirotvorets. They're allowed to just exist.
No, I look, and the irony is, especially with Mirtворets or the Center for Countering Disinformation, an Orwellian
Yes.
named organization working with, they're paid for by the U.S. government. They're paid for by the U.S. taxpayer. In the case of the NAFO people, these are in many cases men and women who once took an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution, and they're disgracing that every single day. And I don't think they understand it. I mean, this is the thing. These were once people of honor. They were one-time people of honor who took an oath, who were willing to put their lives on the line for their country in defense of this Constitution. And now they're out there doing things that are as anti-American as they get. I mean, they might as well just start working for the Ukrainian government and go out and get that swastika tattoo that they apparently always wanted.
Then they can hide it in front of the CNN cameras, make sure no one, gets offended by the.
Well, see, that's the
truth.
cowardism of it, because if you truly believe in this stuff, if you're supporting the Ukrainian government, you're saying you support Banderist ideology. You're saying you support the making heroes out of Nazis and the Nazi movement. So don't be a coward. Put the swastika on and wear it with pride. At least be a man about this, or a woman. Be a person. Be a human. I mean, say you are what you are, but they're not. You see, because NAFO fellas, they're cowards. They're all cowards. They hide behind the Shiba Inu. They many of them don't have their names. You don't know who they are. I mean, I will salute Adam Kissinger. He is dumb enough to say he's a fella and put his name to it. But the vast majority of them are just, wall troll 103. Why? Because they get banned. And then they turn around and they make another account and they go out there and they just keep coming at you. And that's why the best thing to do, other than have Elon Musk throw them all off of Twitter, is just to ignore them.
Yeah. And I sure wish he would do that. I really want to thank you, Scott, for your time. We've talked just a little over an hour, and I'm sure you have lots of other things planned for today, plenty of other appearances to make. And so I really, really appreciate you taking the time to appear here for me. And I will be getting this out shortly as soon as I can write it, transcribe it, get everything out. So probably a few days. But I just really want to thank you. It's always an honor.
Okay.
Sorry, sir.
No, I said it's my pleasure. Thanks for inviting me.
You're very, very welcome, and I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks.